Alarm screamed. The radar locked onto me, 3 red blips closing fast. Command told me to turn back, but I couldn't. If I ran, they'd never know the truth. So I climbed higher, beyond the clouds, the engines howling in my ears. For a moment, I wasn't running from death. I was racing it. My name is Lieutenant Natalie Phillips, 30 years old, U.S. Navy, FA-18 Super Hornet pilot. I've flown in missions where seconds decide everything, but nothing prepared me for the silence that greeted me when I arrived on the USS Enterprise. The moment I stepped on deck, I felt it. Those half glances that pretend not to notice you, the kind of smile that ends before it reaches the eyes. No one needed to say anything. The air itself carried the message. "Lieutenant Phillips, right?" one of the crew said. "Welcome aboard. We don't get many of your kind here." He chuckled, like it was a joke. It wasn't. Another voice followed. "Hope you're not afraid of heights. These birds bite back if you're too gentle." I smiled thinly. "Don't worry. I bite back too." They laughed, not because it was funny, but because they didn't expect me to answer. I walked past them, helmet tucked under my arm, every step echoing like an argument I hadn't started yet. The briefing room smelled of coffee and jet fuel. Commander Blake stood at the front, arms crossed, voice sharp as steel. "This is Lieutenant Phillips," he said without looking at me. "Transferred from the 7th Fleet. She'll handle routine reconnaissance for now." Then he turned to me. "You'll stay off the main strike rotations until further notice. We run a tight ship here. Don't make it complicated." I nodded. "Understood, sir." He didn't respond, just moved on to the next slide. Someone behind me whispered, "Affirmative, ma'am," mimicking my tone. A few quiet laughs followed. I didn't turn around. I didn't have to. That's the thing about silence. It's never really empty. It's full of the things people don't say out loud. After the meeting, I found my quarters. Small, neat, impersonal. The kind of place that doesn't remember anyone's name. I placed my helmet on the table and stared at it for a long time. The reflection of my own face in the visor looked like a stranger's. I unpacked slowly, flight suit, gloves, a folded photo of my mother. Her handwriting on the back said, "You don't need to prove you belong, just fly." But she was wrong. Out here, belonging wasn't given. It had to be fought for. Later that day, I crossed paths with Blake again. He stopped, studying me like a file he didn't remember approving. "Where'd you say you trained, Lieutenant?" "Pensacola, sir. Top of my class." He nodded once, unimpressed. "We'll see how that translates here. The Enterprise isn't a classroom." "I'm aware, sir." He gave a faint smirk. "Good. Just don't make this a political thing." I stared at him. "With respect, Commander, I'm here to fly, not to make statements." He shrugged. "We'll see." He walked away. I stayed there a moment longer, the metal floor humming beneath my boots. Just to fly, I'd said. But in this place, even that was a statement. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing the engines thundering outside, the rhythm of takeoffs and landings. Each roar reminded me of why I was here, and of how much they didn't believe I belonged among them. The sky was calm that morning, a shade too calm. My first mission on the USS Enterprise was supposed to be simple, routine reconnaissance, nothing more. But calm skies have a habit of lying. When I walked across the flight deck, I could feel the eyes on me. The same quiet judgment from day one. Someone muttered, "Hope she doesn't get lost up there." Another voice added, "Guess we'll see if she can handle a Hornet." Laughter followed. I didn't respond. The best answer was takeoff. Inside the cockpit, I finally breathed. Machines don't care about your color, your gender, only precision. I spoke into the radio. Enterprise Control, Hornet 2-1 requesting clearance. A pause, then a voice. Cleared for launch. Try not to make it dramatic. Copy that, I said, masking my irritation. The jet roared forward, the deck vanished, and I was free. Climbing into the quiet above the ocean, the horizon stretched endless and cold. I checked my radar. Everything seemed clean, until it wasn't. 3 dots appeared, then 4, then 6, all silent. No transponders, no identification. My hand tightened on the throttle. Enterprise, this is 2-1. Multiple surface contacts detected 20 miles southwest. Unidentified. Blake's voice replied, slow and skeptical. Probably merchants, Lieutenant. Stick to your path. Don't overthink it. Negative, sir. They're moving in formation. Too organized for civilian traffic. Silence. Then, understood. Resume pattern. I stared at the radar, pulse quickening. Civilian ships don't move like this. I switched to optical feed, 6 gray hulls, precise spacing, perfect coordination. I hit record. Enterprise, I have visual confirmation of armed vessels, I said. Recommend alerting command. The response came after a beat. Return to pattern, Lieutenant. We'll review your footage later. Orders given. Doubt delivered. I lowered altitude slightly, close enough for clearer visuals. The ships were equipped. Radar towers, deck guns, something bigger beneath. I captured images, logged coordinates, stored the data twice. Then one radar signal shifted. A chill ran down my spine. They were tracking me. Enterprise, unknown vessels are adjusting course toward my position. Return immediately, Blake snapped. Copy, I said, but didn't turn back. Not yet. I stayed long enough to confirm weapon activation on their decks. Only then did I bank hard north, afterburners lighting the horizon. When I landed, the air on deck felt heavier. Blake met me near the hangar. Report? 6 armed vessels, unidentified. I logged everything. He didn't even look up. We'll check. Likely a false alarm. With respect, sir, it wasn't. He smirked faintly. We'll see. Rivera approached quietly as Blake walked away. You okay? I nodded. They think I imagined it. Rivera glanced around, lowered his voice. Then keep the proof. Sometimes truth needs time to catch up. That night in my quarters, I replayed the footage. The radar echoes, the formation, the glowing heat signatures, all real, all undeniable. I saved it again, just in case someone decided to lose it later. I looked out the porthole at the endless dark sea. Somewhere out there, those ships were still moving. They didn't believe me. But I believed in something radar couldn't measure. Instinct. And mine was screaming. The calm wasn't peace. It was warning. It began quietly. Cargo ships started turning away from their normal routes, tankers drifting off course without warning. On the radar, it looked like the sea itself was folding in on a single point, a blockade forming where none should exist. By the 3rd day, I couldn't ignore it anymore. The data matched my earlier report exactly. I walked into the briefing room holding the printouts tight. Commander Blake stood in front of the display screen, explaining the situation as if it were nothing. Temporary disruptions, he said. Probably foreign drills. No need to escalate. I raised my voice. Sir, these coordinates line up with the unidentified ships I tracked before. He didn't even look at me. Coincidence? Lieutenant. With respect, sir, there's nothing coincidental about 6 destroyers forming a line through a trade route. He turned sharply. You think you're in command now? I'm trying to warn you. Enough! His voice cut like a whip. Know your place. The room went silent. My place. I swallowed the heat in my chest and sat down, but my mind didn't. Later, Rivera found me by the hangar. He didn't waste time. You were right, he whispered. They're not drills. They're positioning. For what? He hesitated. For control. He led me to a terminal hidden in the maintenance bay. The data glowed on the screen, red dots tightening around key lanes. They've been stationary for 12 hours, he said. That's not a patrol, that's a net. I leaned closer. A blockade. Exactly. He tapped another window. And there's more. Look here. The satellite feed flickered into focus. A chain of small islands, one showing heat signatures. They're building something, I said. Structures, power sources, maybe radar installations. This isn't temporary, I whispered. Before we could speak again, the radio cracked with static. A calm voice cut through. This is Pacific Dawn. Multiple vessels with no flags are warning us to change course. The next transmission came fast, the tone different, panicked. Warning shots fired. Repeat, warning shots fired. Rivera and I locked eyes. My stomach dropped. They just fired near a U.S. ship, he said. We have to act. I ran to the operations deck. Officers were already shouting coordinates. I found Blake near the map table. Sir, we need aerial reconnaissance now. If they've fired once, he spun on me. I said it's under control. It's not. They're enforcing a blockade. He stepped forward, voice like steel. You don't give orders here, Lieutenant. Don't mistake persistence for authority. I'm not giving orders, I said quietly. I'm trying to stop a war. The entire room froze. Blake's face reddened. You're dismissed. I turned away before he could see my anger. Rivera caught up with me outside, his voice low. You just made an enemy. I already had one, I said. It's out there, not in here. Back in my cabin, the hum of the ship felt heavier than usual. Rivera slipped in, carrying a data drive. I copied the logs before they scrubbed them, he said. Unfiltered sonar and satellite readings. You'll want to see this. We pulled up the feed. The dots moved in perfect coordination, precision only a trained fleet could manage. Around the nearest island, faint shapes glimmered under the surface. Submersibles, Rivera murmured. At least 2. They're expanding, I said, securing a base. He looked at me carefully. You realize this means they're preparing to hold that territory? Yes, I said. And they'll start shooting soon. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The monitor light flickered across his face, across mine. Every instinct inside me shouted that this was the beginning, not of a skirmish, but of something larger. I saved every frame of data onto my personal drive. Proof that no one wanted yet. Proof that might one day matter. They thought I was overreacting. But the sea had changed its tone. Even in silence, I could feel it. The tension before the storm. The calm was gone. It had turned into warning. The call came before sunrise. Admiral Chen himself ordered me to fly reconnaissance. His tone calm, decisive. For the first time, my name wasn't followed by doubt. Rivera met me by the hangar, handing me my helmet. You sure about this? He asked. I've been sure since the day they said I didn't belong. The catapult launched, and the world dropped away. The sea looked calm, but I could feel tension under it, like a held breath. Hornet 2-1, proceed to Sector Delta. Chen's voice came through. Observe only. No engagement. Copy that, I said. For 20 minutes, nothing. Then 3 dots appeared on the radar. Slow, deliberate. Too clean to be civilian. Command, I have multiple contacts bearing 085, I said. Chen replied, confirm visual. I dropped through low cloud. 2 gray warships cut silently across the surface. No flags, no signals. Then the radar screamed, lock on. Command, I'm being painted by multiple radars. Gain altitude. Do not engage, Chen ordered. Too late, I said. They're tracking me. 2 fighter signals lit up, racing toward me. Command, 2 hostiles airborne. Confirmed intercept. Break off immediately. Negative. I can get the evidence we need. The alarm shrieked. My heart pounded. I dove hard, the G-force crushing me. The enemy jets followed close, shadows slicing through mist. I skimmed above the waves, pulling sharp turns until spray hit the canopy. Command recording visuals, I said, breath tight. They're armed and unmarked. Disengage, Lieutenant, Chen shouted. A missile lock warning filled my cockpit. I rolled, dropped a flare, and climbed into the sun. The missile flashed past, exploding behind me. Target evaded, I said, returning to base. Chen's voice softened. Acknowledged. Bring it home. When I landed, the deck was silent. Eyes followed as I climbed down. No mockery this time. Only disbelief. I walked straight to the Admiral's quarters. Chen was already watching the footage. On the screen, radar locks, missile trails, unmarked fighters. He looked up slowly. You just stopped a diplomatic disaster, he said. If you hadn't brought this back, we'd be in combat already. I stood still, adrenaline still humming through me. Chen nodded once. You trusted yourself when others didn't. That's what command looks like. Outside, the wind hit my face. Cold, steady, clean. Rivera was waiting near the railing. You did it, he said. They finally saw it, I answered. Saw what? That I was never the weak link they imagined. The engines behind me cooled to silence. For the first time, that silence felt like respect. I looked out at the horizon where the danger had come from, the sky wide and clear. And for the first time, I was truly free. After the mission, I thought things would change. I thought proof would silence the whispers. But sometimes, truth only makes the silence colder. 2 days later, I walked into the operations room and felt it immediately. The stares, the shift in tone. Reports of my flight had spread, but not the full story. Someone had rewritten it. Apparently, our new hero almost started a war, one officer muttered. Another smirked. Guess she likes to make herself the center of attention. I ignored them, though every word cut deeper than gunfire. When the meeting began, Commander Blake wasted no time. Sir, with respect, he told Admiral Chen. Lieutenant Phillips acted beyond protocol. Her unauthorized approach nearly provoked a confrontation. Chen didn't look up from the report. Her footage confirmed hostilities before they escalated. Or created them, Blake shot back. She's reckless. She shouldn't fly another mission. I spoke before I could stop myself. Reckless is ignoring what's right in front of you, sir. He turned toward me slowly, voice dripping with control. You've had your moment, Lieutenant. Don't mistake luck for leadership. The room went still. Chen raised his head. Enough. We can't blind ourselves because of ego. His gaze stayed on Blake. She did her duty, and she'll keep doing it. That ended the meeting, officially at least. Unofficially, it made me the most talked about pilot on the ship. Some called me brave. Others called me dangerous. Later that night, Rivera knocked on my door. He looked exhausted. "They're reviewing your access," he said. "So they're trying to ground me." He nodded. "Blake's pushing it through the back channels. Says you're unstable." I laughed bitterly. Instability seems to mean disagreeing with him. Rivera lowered his voice. "Forget them for now. Look at this." He opened his tablet, fresh sonar data flickering across the screen. 6 new signatures moving into the disputed zone. Deep, slow, coordinated. Torpedo subs? Exactly. No ID signals. If they surface, it's an invasion. My pulse quickened. And command doesn't know? They do. They're pretending it's a glitch. I stared at the map. The blue circles shifting closer to the red line. "They're not errors," I said. "They're advance units." Rivera's eyes met mine. "So what do we do?" "We keep tracking them," I said. "Quietly. If they breach the line, we'll be ready." He hesitated. "You realize if they find out we're doing this, it's over for both of us." I smiled faintly. "Then we'd better not get caught." We worked in silence, the hum of the ship around us. Data streamed across the screen. 6 steady pulses inching toward conflict. Every signal was a warning no one wanted to hear. When the shift ended, Rivera left with a quiet nod. I stayed behind, watching the sonar blips fade and reappear like the heartbeat of something waiting to strike. They called me reckless. They called me a threat. But all I'd done was tell the truth. And the truth has a price. It isolates you. I looked at my reflection in the dark glass, the faint glow of radar lights flickering across my face. The real battle wasn't up there in the clouds. It was here, inside these walls, inside these people, inside me. And I was still fighting. The order came just after midnight. Washington had decided the blockade would end by force. The words "Operation Freedom Passage" echoed through the corridors like a storm warning. No one laughed at me now. No one questioned what I'd seen. The truth had finally become too loud to ignore. Admiral Chen called me to the bridge. "Lieutenant Phillips, you'll lead the forward reconnaissance. You fly first before the main strike." I met his gaze. "Alone, sir?" He nodded. "Your job is to mark targets in real time. Everyone else follows your lead." Commander Blake stood silent behind him, eyes fixed on the floor. The man who'd tried to ground me had nothing left to say. Rivera found me by my jet, his voice low. "You realize this is suicide." I smiled. "Only if I miss." The catapult slammed, and I was airborne. The ocean stretched endless beneath me, dark, waiting. "Hornet 2-1, proceeding to grid Delta," I reported. Chen's calm voice came through the static. "We're with you, Lieutenant. Stay sharp." I descended through clouds. The radar pulsed alive. Dozens of red pings, enemy batteries locked and ready. Tracer fire flashed across the water. "Command, I have visual on anti-air positions, marking now." "Copy that, 2-1, Chen said. The air shook with explosions. Missiles streaked past, heat searing the glass. I could hear metal screaming under the strain. Then, a sharp jolt, impact. Warning lights blazed red. "Command, I've been hit!" Chen's voice tensed. "Eject if you have to." "Negative. Still flying." My hands moved without hesitation. Adjust. Stabilize. Focus. Target coordinates updated. Prioritize Grid Echo 7. It's their radar hub. Seconds later, the first strike hit. The horizon lit like sunrise, brilliant, violent, unstoppable. Their missile network went dark, one after another. Hornet 2-1, excellent work. Pull back. Not yet. Surface launchers still active. I dove again, skimming the waves, the alarms screaming. Every part of me burned, but the mission came first. I transmitted the final coordinates just as another explosion tore the sky apart. Command, last targets marked, I said. Copy 2-1. All batteries firing. Get clear. The fleet's counterattack thundered through the sea. The blockade shattered. On my radar, the enemy signals vanished, one by one. Phillips, report, Chen's voice asked. Still flying, I said, barely breathing. Rivera came on the channel next. You did it, Nat. You brought them home. I laughed, half breath, half relief. Tell Blake he owes me an apology. Already told him, Rivera replied. He saluted the screen. I turned toward the rising light, the smoke drifting behind me. The sea, once trapped, was free again. When I landed, the deck fell silent for a heartbeat, then erupted in cheers. For the first time, they weren't mocking me. They were proud. As I stood by the rail, helmet under my arm, Admiral Chen's voice echoed softly through the comms. Courage isn't the absence of fear, he said. It's flying straight through it. And I had. When dawn came, the sea was no longer a threat. It was open, endless, alive again. The operation had worked. Every defense system, every radar tower, every blockade position had fallen silent. For the first time in weeks, the radio was clear. No warnings. No evasions. Just wind and open water. Lieutenant Phillips. Admiral Chen's voice came through the headset, calm but warm. You'll lead the escort for the Pacific Dawn. Let them see what freedom looks like. Copy that, Admiral, I said, my voice steady, but my chest still heavy with disbelief. Below, the ocean shimmered with scattered debris. Above, the sun broke through the smoke, soft and gold, as if the sky itself had been waiting to breathe again. Hornet 2-1 to Pacific Dawn. You are clear to proceed. Maintain heading 085. We'll keep the skies open. A quiet voice came back. Copy, Lieutenant. It's good to hear an American pilot up there again. I flew ahead of the convoy, every wave below catching the reflection of my jet. It wasn't about pride anymore. It was about presence, about proving that strength could mean protection, not fear. The radar was empty. No hostiles, no hidden threats, just open sea. Still, I didn't relax until the Pacific Dawn crossed the safe perimeter. When it did, my shoulders finally dropped. Command, Pacific Dawn is clear. Mission accomplished. Chen's reply carried something I'd never heard before. Respect. Well done, Lieutenant. You brought them home. As I turned back toward the Enterprise, the sun rose fully. The light hit the canopy, and for a moment, the whole cockpit glowed. It felt like flying through forgiveness, not theirs, but mine. When I touched down, the deck crew stood waiting. No laughter this time, no whispers. Just quiet. The kind that follows awe. I climbed out of the cockpit, helmet under my arm, heart still beating in the rhythm of the engines. Rivera was the first to break the silence. That's how you make an entrance, he said, smiling wide. I grinned. Took them long enough to notice. Blake stepped forward slowly. His face was unreadable, his voice low. You did something most of us didn't believe possible. He hesitated, just a second too long. I was wrong. For a moment, I didn't know how to answer. I just nodded. We all were, sir. Rivera clapped him lightly on the shoulder. Chow mung ko den doi, Phillips, he said, teasing in his half-accented voice. And for once, everyone laughed. Not cruelly, not out of disbelief, but out of release. I looked around, at the faces that had doubted me, challenged me, watched me fall and rise again. They weren't looking through me anymore. They were looking at me. In that moment, I realized something simple but absolute. Respect, when it finally arrives, carries the weight of every silence that came before it. And when it does, it's worth everything. The sea was quiet again. Not the uneasy silence of before, but the kind that comes after chaos, when the world finally exhales. I stood on the flight deck as the sun slipped toward the horizon. The light turned everything gold. The waves, the hull, even the scars on the metal from the last battle. The air smelled of salt and jet fuel. For once, that smell felt like home. I could still hear the echoes of the engines in my head, the rush of air, the alarms, the voices calling my name. But they were memories now, fading beneath the rhythm of the waves. Behind me, footsteps approached. A young officer, no older than 20, stopped a few steps away. His uniform was still too clean, his confidence still new. Lieutenant Phillips, he said softly, almost hesitant. I just wanted to say, I hope one day I can fly like you. I turned to him and smiled. Don't fly like me, I said. Fly like yourself. Just don't ever let anyone tell you that you can't. He nodded, eyes bright, and walked away. I watched him go. Another name, another dream, another story beginning where mine had almost ended. The wind rose gently, tugging at my flight jacket. I looked out at the ocean. Wide, calm, endless. Ships moved in the distance, small against the light, carrying their flags freely again. The blockade was gone. The world was back in motion. But peace always feels heavier to those who fought for it. I closed my eyes and listened. To the hum of the engines far below, to the laughter of the crew behind me, to the silence that no longer hurt. They had called me reckless. They had called me naive. They had said I didn't belong, and yet here I was, standing on the same deck that once doubted my right to be here, watching the same sky that had once tried to bring me down. The horizon burned orange, fading into deep blue. I whispered the words quietly, mostly to myself. They said I didn't belong here, but freedom doesn't choose color. It chooses those brave enough to defend it. The last light of day caught the edge of my helmet, gleaming like fire before fading into dusk. Somewhere below, the ocean carried the reflection away, scattering it into the distance. Tomorrow, there would be new orders, new storms, new skies to cross. But tonight, for the first time, the world was still, and I finally felt like I was part of it.